Every time your phone buzzes and you immediately respond, you're training the world to treat you like you have nothing better to do. Every time you drop everything to help someone else, you're announcing that your time has no value and your goals don't matter. You think you're being kind, but you're actually being weak. You think you're being helpful, but you're actually being harmful to your own future. The most dangerous person in your life isn't your enemy who openly opposes you. It's the friend who constantly needs you because they're slowly destroying your potential with their endless demands for your attention. There was a woman named Maria who worked as a nurse in a busy hospital. Every morning at 5 a.m., her phone would start buzzing. Her sister needed help with her children. Her neighbor wanted a ride to the grocery store. Her co-workers asked her to cover their shifts. Her church needed volunteers for every event. Her friends called her their go-to person for everything, from relationship advice to moving furniture. Maria never said no. She believed that being helpful made her valuable. She thought that being available to everyone made her important. For 15 years, she lived this way. She was the first person people called when they had problems, and she wore this like a badge of honor. But something was happening to Maria that she didn't notice at first. While she was busy solving everyone else's problems, her own dreams were dying. She had always wanted to become a head nurse, maybe even start her own medical practice. She had the skills, the knowledge, and the passion. But every time she tried to study for her certification exams, someone needed her. Every time she planned to attend a professional development conference, someone had an emergency. One Tuesday morning, Maria collapsed at work, not from a medical condition, but from exhaustion. As she lay in the hospital bed she had spent years working around, she realized something that changed her life forever. She had become so available to everyone that she had become unavailable to herself. This is the trap that millions of people fall into every single day. You think that being available to everyone makes you valuable, but it actually makes you invisible. You think that saying yes to every request makes you important, but it actually makes you irrelevant to your own purpose. Listen to me carefully. When you are available to everyone, you are available to no one completely. When you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to somebody, including yourself. The world has trained you to believe that availability equals value. Your phone rings, you answer. Someone texts, you respond immediately. Someone needs help, you drop everything. But this is not wisdom. This is not strength. This is weakness disguised as helpfulness. Every time you say yes to something that is not your assignment, you are saying no to something that is. Every time you allow someone else's emergency to become your priority, you are treating your own purpose like it doesn't matter. Every time you make yourself available to everyone, you make yourself unavailable to your destiny. The problem with being available to everyone is that it creates a false sense of importance. People start calling you when they need something, and you mistake this for being needed. But there is a difference between being needed and being used. There is a difference between being valuable and being convenient. Maria learned this the hard way after her collapse. She made a decision that shocked everyone around her. She started saying no, not to be mean, not to be selfish, but to be faithful to her purpose. She stopped answering every phone call immediately. She stopped saying yes to every request. She started protecting her time like it was precious, because it was. Some people got angry with her. They called her selfish. They said she had changed, and they were right. She had changed. She had transformed from someone who was available to everyone into someone who was available to her assignment. Within 2 years, Maria passed her certification exams. Within 3 years, she was promoted to head nurse. Within 5 years, she opened her own medical consultation business. The same people who called her selfish when she started saying no began calling her successful when she started saying yes to the right things. You see, the world is full of people who will consume your time, your energy, and your purpose if you let them. They are not necessarily bad people. They just don't understand that your availability is not their right. Your time is not their property. Your energy is not their entitlement. When you stop being available to everyone, something powerful happens. The people who were using you disappear, and the people who value you remain. The opportunities that were draining you fade away, and the opportunities that are meant for you begin to appear. Your availability is not a gift you give to the world. Your availability is a tool you use to build your destiny. When you scatter this tool in every direction, you build nothing. When you focus this tool on your purpose, you build everything. Stop measuring your worth by how many people need you. Start measuring your worth by how well you serve your assignment. Stop counting how many times people call you. Start counting how many times you answer the call of your purpose. The person who is available to everyone is available to no one, including themselves. The person who protects their availability like a treasure discovers that their life becomes a treasure. The choice is yours. You can continue being everyone's solution and remain your own problem, or you can become unavailable to the wrong things so you can become completely available to the right thing. Maria's story is not unique. It is the story of everyone who has ever discovered that saying no to good things allows you to say yes to great things. It is the story of everyone who has learned that being selective with your availability is not selfishness. It is stewardship. Your time is the only thing you can never get back. Your energy is the only resource you cannot manufacture. Your attention is the only currency you truly own. Stop spending these precious resources on people and things that do not invest in your purpose. The world needs you at your best, not at your busiest. The world needs you focused, not scattered. The world needs you available to your assignment, not available to everyone's convenience. There was an old violin maker named Antonio who lived in a small Italian village. For 30 years, he made violins for anyone who asked. His workshop was always full of customers, and he worked 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. He thought that staying busy meant he was successful. His violins were good, but they were common. People bought them because they were available, not because they were special. One day, a famous concert violinist visited his village and heard about Antonio's reputation. She came to his workshop expecting to find extraordinary instruments, but what she found disappointed her. The violins were decent, but they lacked soul. They lacked the care and attention that create something truly beautiful. And there was more. Studies showed that violinists may be better coached, better guided than some Americans. And yet not one did that. When on Christmas Day, 60 years ago, Kensington, who had amplitude of followers, would make the violinist looked at Antonio and said something that changed his life forever. She said, "You are so busy making violins for everyone that you are not making masterpieces for anyone." Those words hit Antonio like lightning. He realized that in his rush to serve every customer, he had forgotten what it meant to create something truly valuable. He was manufacturing instruments, not crafting art. Antonio made a decision that shocked his entire village. He announced that from that day forward, he would only make 12 violins per year. Not because he was lazy, but because he wanted each violin to be perfect. People thought he had lost his mind. They said he would go out of business. They said nobody would pay higher prices for fewer violins. But Antonio understood something that most people never learn. Scarcity creates value. When something is rare, it becomes precious. When something is limited, it becomes sought after. Antonio spent 4 weeks on each violin instead of 4 days. He selected only the finest wood. He studied each piece of timber like he was reading a book. He crafted each curve with the patience of a sculptor. He tuned each string with the precision of a surgeon. Within 1 year, something extraordinary happened. The same people who used to buy his violins without much thought were now calling months in advance, begging for a chance to purchase one of his 12 annual creations. The price of his violins increased by 5 times, not because he was greedy, but because his work had become genuinely valuable. Musicians from around the world began traveling to his small village, not just to buy his violins, but to be in the presence of a master craftsman. Antonio had transformed from being just another violin maker into being the violin maker that everyone wanted to meet. This is the power of scarcity. When Antonio was available to everyone, he was valuable to no one. When he became selective about his availability, he became invaluable to the right people. Professor, Polish, you were born here. You have the same principle applies to your life. When you are available to everyone, you become common. When you become selective with your availability, you become precious. Think about the most successful people you know. Are they available to everyone? Do they answer every phone call? Do they say yes to every invitation? Do they attend every meeting? No. They understand that their scarcity is their strength. The reason gold is valuable is not because it is useful, but because it is rare. The reason diamonds are expensive is not because they are pretty, but because they are limited. The reason certain restaurants have waiting lists is not because their food is perfect, but because their tables are scarce. Your time is more valuable than gold. Your attention is more precious than diamonds. Your energy is more limited than the tables at the finest restaurant. Yet you give these treasures away like they are common stones. When you make yourself available to everyone, you train people to treat you like you are common. When you become selective with your availability, you train people to treat you like you are valuable. This is not about being arrogant or proud. This is about understanding your worth and protecting it. This is about recognizing that your availability is not a right that belongs to others, but a gift that you choose to give. The person who is always available is never valued. The person who is sometimes available is always valued. The person who is rarely available becomes irreplaceable. Stop being the person that everyone knows they can interrupt. Start being the person that everyone knows they must respect. Stop being the person that everyone takes for granted. Start being the person that everyone appreciates when they have access to you. Your availability should be earned, not assumed. Your time should be requested, not demanded. Your attention should be honored, not expected. When Antonio limited his violins to 12 per year, he did not become less successful. He became more successful. When he served fewer customers, he did not make less money. He made more money. When he reduced his availability, he did not reduce his value. He increased it. The same transformation awaits you. When you stop being available to everyone, you will not lose your importance. You will find your true importance. When you become selective with your time, you will not have less impact. Scarcity is not the enemy of success. Scarcity is the creator of success. Limitation is not the opposite of abundance. Limitation is the pathway to abundance. Selectivity is not selfishness. Selectivity is stewardship of the gifts you have been given. Let me tell you about a brilliant surgeon named Elena who was at the peak of her career. She was performing surgeries 6 days a week, consulting for 3 different hospitals, teaching medical students, and speaking at conferences around the world. Everyone wanted a piece of her expertise. Her calendar was booked solid for 18 months in advance. Elena thought she was living her dream. She was making more money than she had ever imagined. She was respected by her peers. She was saving lives every day. But something was wrong. And it took a near fatal mistake during surgery to wake her up, during what should have been a routine operation. Elena's exhausted mind made an error that almost cost a patient's life. As she stood there, hands shaking, She realized that her constant availability had made her dangerous. She was so busy being everywhere that she was not fully present anywhere that night. Elena made a decision that shocked the entire medical community. She announced that she was taking a 60-day break from all surgeries, all consultations, and all speaking engagements. Her colleagues thought she was having a breakdown. The hospitals panicked. Patients protested. The media called it career suicide. But Elena understood something that most people never learn. Sometimes you have to withdraw to advance. Sometimes you have to step back to step up. Sometimes you have to become unavailable to discover what truly deserves your availability during those 60 days. Elena did something she had not done in years. She thought. She reflected. She remembered why she became a surgeon in the first place. She reconnected with her purpose. She rediscovered her passion. She renewed her precision. When Elena returned to work, she was a different person. She limited herself to 3 surgeries per week instead of 15. She chose only the most complex cases that truly needed her unique skills. She stopped saying yes to every conference and started saying yes only to the opportunities that aligned with her mission. The result was extraordinary. Elena's surgical success rate increased by 40%. Her patient satisfaction scores reached the highest levels in the hospital's history. Her income, despite working less, increased because she was now commanding premium fees for premium expertise. The strategic withdrawal had transformed Elena from a busy surgeon into a master surgeon. She learned that being constantly available does not make you constantly valuable. Being selectively available makes you exceptionally valuable. This is the power of strategic withdrawal. When you pull back from the noise, you can hear the signal. When you step away from the urgent, you can focus on the important. When you withdraw from being everywhere, you can be fully present somewhere. Strategic withdrawal is not running away from responsibility. Strategic withdrawal is running toward your true responsibility. It is not avoiding your assignment. It is clarifying your assignment. The eagle does not fly at ground level with the chickens, even though the ground is where the food is. The eagle withdraws to the heights, and from that position of withdrawal, it sees opportunities that ground level creatures cannot see. Your withdrawal is not weakness. Your withdrawal is wisdom. Your pulling back is not giving up. Your pulling back is gaining perspective. Your strategic unavailability is not selfishness. Your strategic unavailability is stewardship. When you are always in the middle of everything, you cannot see anything clearly. When you strategically withdraw, you gain the perspective to see everything clearly. When you are constantly responding to what is urgent, you miss what is important. When you withdraw from the urgent, you can focus on what is eternal. Distraction is a waste of energy. Unlike what you get from the urgent, you get back. Elena's 60-day withdrawal gave her a lifetime of clarity. Her temporary unavailability led to permanent effectiveness. Her strategic retreat led to her greatest advance. I want to tell you about a writer named Jonathan who lived in the heart of New York City. His apartment was small, but his dreams were enormous. He wanted to write the novel that would change literature forever. He had the talent, the ideas, and the passion. But he had one problem that was destroying his dream before it could begin. Jonathan could not say no to interruptions. His phone rang constantly with friends wanting to chat. His neighbors knocked on his door asking for favors. His family called him their tech support guy and contacted him whenever their computers had problems. His landlord asked him to help with building maintenance because he was so handy. His writing time was being consumed by everyone else's needs. For 3 years, Jonathan tried to write his novel in the spaces between interruptions. He would start a chapter, then someone would need help moving furniture. He would develop a character, then someone would call with relationship problems. He would craft a beautiful paragraph. Then someone would ask him to fix their car. His masterpiece was becoming a disaster of fragments and false starts. One evening, Jonathan made a decision that changed everything. He decided to build what he called his fortress of focus. This was not a physical building, but a system of boundaries that protected his creative time like walls protect a castle. Jonathan established 3 non-negotiable rules. First, between 8 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, his phone was turned off completely. Second, he put a sign on his door that said, "Writer at work, do not disturb until 2 p.m. Third, he told everyone in his life that his morning hours were sacred and unavailable for any reason except genuine emergencies. The reaction was immediate and hostile. People called him selfish. They said he was becoming antisocial. They accused him of thinking he was better than everyone else. Some friends stopped calling altogether. His family said he was being dramatic. His neighbors complained about the sign on his door, but Jonathan held firm. He understood that protecting his focus was not about rejecting people. It was about respecting his purpose. He was not building walls to keep people out. He was building boundaries to keep his destiny in. The transformation was remarkable. Within 6 months, Jonathan had written more than he had written in the previous 3 years combined. Within 1 year, he completed his novel. Within 18 months, his book was published and became a bestseller. Within 2 years, he was invited to speak at universities and writing conferences around the world. The same people who criticized him for building boundaries began bragging that they knew him before he was famous. The same people who called him selfish began asking him for advice on how to pursue their own dreams. Jonathan learned that your fortress of focus is not built to keep others out, it is built to keep you in. It is not designed to isolate you from people, it is designed to concentrate you on purpose. Building your fortress of focus requires 3 essential elements. First, you must establish clear boundaries about when you are available and when you are not. Second, you must communicate these boundaries clearly and consistently to everyone in your life. Third, you must defend these boundaries even when people pressure you to tear them down. Your focus is under attack every single day. Every notification on your phone is an invasion. Every unexpected visitor is a breach. Every urgent request is an assault on your attention. Without a fortress to protect your focus, your dreams will be conquered by other people's demands. The person without boundaries lives at the mercy of everyone else's schedule. The person with boundaries lives according to their own destiny. Let me tell you about a school principal named Katherine who discovered the most powerful secret about leadership and life transformation. Katherine worked at a struggling inner city school where students were failing, teachers were quitting, and parents had given up hope. When she first arrived, everyone expected her to be available to solve every problem immediately. Katherine's predecessor had operated with an open-door policy. He was available to every student complaint, every parent concern, every teacher request, and every district demand. He worked 18-hour days, answered emails at midnight, and attended every meeting that was scheduled. He was exhausted, overwhelmed, and ultimately ineffective. The school continued to decline despite his constant availability when Katherine took over. She inherited a school where chaos ruled and problems multiplied faster than solutions. Students were disrespectful, teachers were demoralized, and test scores were among the lowest in the state. Everyone expected her to follow the same pattern as her predecessor, to be available to everyone all the time. But Katherine had learned something from studying the greatest leaders in history. She discovered that the most effective leaders were not the ones who were available to everyone, but the ones who were selective about their availability. They focused their time, energy, and attention on the few things that would create the greatest impact. Katherine made a decision that shocked everyone. Instead of trying to solve every problem herself, she would focus on developing 12 key teachers who could multiply her influence throughout the entire school. Instead of meeting with every parent who had a complaint, she would invest her time in training parent leaders who who could address concerns effectively instead of responding to every crisis personally. She would build systems that could handle problems without her constant intervention. People were outraged. They said she was avoiding her responsibilities. They accused her of being lazy and uncaring. They complained that she was not accessible enough. Some teachers demanded meetings with the superintendent. Some parents threatened to transfer their children to other schools. The local newspaper wrote articles questioning her leadership style. Katherine remained focused on her strategy. Every morning from 7 to 9, she met with her 12 selected teachers. She poured her knowledge, her vision, and her passion into these educators. She taught them not just how to teach, but how to lead. She showed them not just how to manage classrooms, but how to transform lives. She invested in them not just as employees, but as partners in a mission. During these focused 2-hour sessions, Katherine was completely unavailable to everyone else. No phone calls, no emergency meetings, no interruptions. Her secretary had strict instructions that unless the building was on fire, Katherine was not to be disturbed during her investment time. Some people criticized this approach, but Katherine understood something profound. She knew that if she could transform these 12 teachers, they could transform 120 students each. Instead of trying to directly impact the entire school, she was multiplying her influence through strategic focus. The transformation began slowly, then accelerated rapidly. The 12 teachers Katherine invested in became the strongest educators in the school. Their classrooms became examples of excellence. Their students began achieving at levels no one thought possible. Their enthusiasm began spreading to other teachers throughout the building. Within 1 year, student test scores increased by 30%. Teacher retention improved dramatically. Parent satisfaction surveys showed unprecedented positive results. The same school that had been failing became a model that other schools wanted to study and replicate. But the most remarkable part of Katherine's story happened in year 2. The 12 teachers she had invested in began replicating her strategy. Each of them selected 12 students to mentor intensively. These students, transformed by focused attention and investment, became leaders who influenced their peers positively. The multiplication effect was extraordinary. Katherine's selective availability to 12 teachers ultimately impacted 1,200 students. Her strategic focus on a few created transformation for many. Her refusal to be available to everyone enabled her to be powerfully available to the right people at the right time. By year 3, Katherine's school had become one of the highest performing schools in the district. Universities were sending education students to observe her methods. Other principals were asking her to speak at conferences. The media that had once criticized her approach was now praising her innovative leadership. Katherine learned the most important lesson about availability and impact. Your assignment is not everyone's emergency. Your calling is not everyone's convenience. Your purpose is not everyone's problem to solve. When you try to be available to everyone, you dilute your influence until it becomes ineffective. When you become selectively available to the right people, you concentrate your influence until it becomes transformational. The greatest leaders in history understood this principle. They chose disciples, not crowds. They selected associates, not admirers. They invested in the few who could multiply their impact among the many. This is not about being exclusive or elitist. This is about being effective and exponential. This is not about caring less about people. This is about caring more about purpose. This is not about serving fewer people. This is about serving more people through strategic focus. When Katherine stopped being available to everyone's immediate needs, she became available to everyone's ultimate needs. When she stopped responding to every crisis, she started preventing every crisis. When she focused on developing 12 teachers instead of managing 1,200 students, she ended up transforming 1,200 students through 12 developed teachers. Your life has the same potential for multiplication. when you stop scattering your availability like seeds on concrete and start concentrating your availability like seeds in fertile soil, you will see a harvest that amazes you. Stop trying to be everything to everyone and become something significant to someone. Stop spreading yourself thin across many relationships and start going deep with the right relationships. Stop being available to every need and start being available to your specific assignment. All right, so briefly plunge. The transformation of selective availability is not about becoming less caring. It is about becoming more effective. It is not about serving fewer people. It is about serving more people through strategic focus and intentional multiplication. Katherine's story proves that when you stop being available to everyone, you do not lose your impact, you multiply your impact. When you become selective with your time, you do not reduce your influence, you concentrate your influence. When you focus on the few, you do not abandon the many, you serve the many through the few. This is the power of selective availability. This is the secret of exponential impact. This is the pathway from being busy to being significant, from being scattered to being focused, from being available to everyone to being invaluable to your assignment. The choice is before you. You can continue being available to everyone and remain frustrated by limited impact, or you can become selectively available and watch your influence multiply beyond anything you ever thought possible. The decision you make will determine not just your success, but your significance. Choose wisely.